Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
In the annals of spiritual history, few connections between a sacred text and a social movement have been as profound and transformative as the relationship between the Ethiopian Bible and the Rastafari movement. This connection is not merely theological but deeply rooted in historical struggles, African identity, colonial resistance, and an unshakable belief in the divinity of Emperor Haile Selassie. While the Rastafari movement emerged in the early 20th century as a response to the social and political conditions of the African diaspora, the Ethiopian Bible, one of the oldest and most complete biblical canons in existence, provided the spiritual framework and cultural legitimacy upon which the movement would build its foundation. Unlike the King James Version or other Western Christian Bibles, the Ethiopian Bible includes texts that have long been considered apocryphal or excluded from mainstream Christian doctrine. This difference has fascinated scholars and believers alike, offering unique insights into biblical interpretations untainted by European influences. The Rastafari movement, drawing heavily from these texts, established a worldview that saw Ethiopia as Zion, the Promised Land, and Haile Selassie as the living God incarnate. To fully understand the significance of the Ethiopian Bible within the Rastafari ideology, one must journey through ancient Ethiopian Christianity, the arrival of European colonialism, Pan-Africanism, and the rise of the Rastafari faith in Jamaica. Each of these elements intertwines in a tapestry of faith, struggle, and liberation, shaping the consciousness of millions of people worldwide. The Ethiopian Bible, formerly known as the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church Canon, stands as one of the most unique and historically rich versions of the Christian scriptures. Unlike the Protestant or Catholic Bibles, which contain 66 and 73 books respectively, the Ethiopian Bible comprises 81 books, including texts such as the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and the Shepherd of Hermas. These texts, considered non-canonical in most Christian traditions, offer insights into early Christianity and pre-Christian Jewish traditions that shaped the biblical narrative. Christianity arrived in Ethiopia in the 4th century CE, when King Ezana of the Aksumite Empire converted to the faith. Ethiopian Christianity developed independently from Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox traditions, creating a distinct theological tradition that emphasized the African origins of biblical narratives. The Ethiopian Church preserved scriptures in the ancient Guizi language, maintaining a tradition that remained largely untouched by European colonial influences. Ethiopian biblical tradition portrays Ethiopia as a sacred land, often associating it with biblical figures such as the Queen of Sheba, who, according to Ethiopian history, bore a son with King Solomon, Menelik I, the legendary founder of the Solomonic dynasty. This connection reinforced Ethiopia's divine status and Rastafari ideology, affirming that African people had a direct link to biblical history that was often erased or ignored by Western Christianity. The origins of the Rastafari movement are deeply intertwined with the struggles of African descendants in Jamaica, particularly in the post-slavery era. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw a rise in Pan-African thought, championed by figures like Marcus Garvey, who emphasized Black empowerment, repatriation to Africa, and resistance against colonial oppression. Garvey's prophecy that a Black king would be crowned in Africa served as a catalyst for the emergence of Rastafari beliefs. When Rastafari Makonnen was crowned Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia in 1930, many in Jamaica saw this as the fulfillment of Garvey's prophecy. Selassie, the 225th monarch in a line that traced its origins back to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, was viewed as the divine ruler who would lead Black people out of oppression. This belief gave birth to the Rastafari movement, which rejected Western Christianity in favor of a spiritual path that looked to Ethiopia as Zion and Selassie as the returned Messiah. The Ethiopian Bible played a crucial role in shaping Rastafari theology, particularly through its inclusion of texts that emphasized divine justice, African heritage, and resistance to oppression. The Book of Enoch, for example, spoke of divine judgment upon the wicked, a concept that resonated deeply with Rastafari teachings on Babylon, the oppressive system of European imperialism. For Rastafarians, Ethiopia is not just a geographical location. It is the promised land, the spiritual and cultural homeland from which Africans were forcibly removed during the transatlantic slave trade. The Ethiopian Bible reinforced this notion, particularly through its depiction of Ethiopia as a sacred kingdom blessed by God. The Psalms, Proverbs, and prophecies within the text were interpreted as direct messages affirming the divine destiny of Ethiopia and its people. Haile Selassie's role in Rastafari theology is unparalleled. Many Rastafarians view him as the returned Christ, based on biblical passages such as Revelation 5 verse 5, which describes the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Selassie's titles, including King of Kings and Elect of God, align perfectly with these prophecies, further cementing his status as a divine figure. In 1966, Selassie visited Jamaica, an event that solidified his position in Rastafari consciousness. Thousands of Rastafarians gathered to witness the arrival of their divine king, and this event reinforced their commitment to Ethiopian identity and the eventual repatriation to Africa. The Ethiopian Bible's inclusion of texts emphasizing justice, prophecy, and divine kingship helped shape key aspects of Rastafari philosophy. Concepts such as I and I, which reflects the unity between God and humanity, and the rejection of Babylon, Western oppression, are deeply rooted in Ethiopian scripture. Rastafarians adopted a way of life that mirrored biblical principles, including the Nazirite vow, which forbids cutting hair, leading to the iconic dreadlocks, a diet based on natural, plant-based foods, ital, and a rejection of Western materialism. The Ethiopian Bible provided textual justification for these practices, reinforcing the idea that Rastafari was not just a movement but a divinely ordained path. The Ethiopian Bible and the Rastafari movement share a profound and inseparable bond that has shaped the spiritual and cultural identity of millions. As one of the oldest and most complete biblical canons, the Ethiopian Bible offered Rastafarians an unfiltered connection to their African heritage, untainted by European theological alteration. Through the Ethiopian Bible, Rastafarians found divine legitimacy in their faith, a vision of Africa as their spiritual homeland, and an unwavering belief in Haile Selassie as the living God. This rich historical and theological tradition continues to inspire new generations, keeping alive the dream of Zion, the pursuit of justice, and the unbreakable link between Africa and its diaspora.